So before I went to Russia, this was October, before my dad was in the hospital, before I went to Russia, I was in Germany, and Andrew Tate invited me to come see his house and talk business. And he flew me over there for a day. I was there for a day. He was talking about starting a paywall, trying to figure out how to monetize content. And then I flew home. And so we took a couple of photos. One's in the cigar lounge. But just because I flew over there and talked to him doesn't mean there was anything sexual that occurred, which is what happened when the internet saw that photo.
Which, of course, is what Andrew has said on pretty much any time I've talked. I actually interviewed him right after that because, of course, everybody wants to know what was going on, right? So when you put something like that out at that time, that's what everybody's going to say. And he's pretty much said exactly what you have said as well. So in fact, I think I even mentioned that. I pointed it out in the Fresh and Fit video, as a matter of fact, where they were interviewing him about that. Those, I guess there's a couple of pictures. But you got to
there's a bit of inference that maybe something had occurred. So I just wanted to set that straight.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is,
can I ask?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was in October of 2019, and you were in Germany.
2019.
Mm-hmm. So you were already in Germany at that time, or
I'd been in Germany. I flew from Toronto to Germany. I was in Germany for business. And then on the way home, I stopped in Romania for a day.
Okay.
And then January, I can't remember. That might have been 2018.
But he flew you out there, correct?
On the way back, yes.
From Germany to Romania, or all the way?
Germany to Romania, and then Romania to Canada.
Okay.
It was like, I'm busy, but I'll come see. I was interested in what he's done. He's made a lot of money. He's put things behind a paywall, and I kind of wanted to learn, see. Seems like an interesting character. So I thought that could be interesting.
Were you aware what he does for a living?
No. He told me once he got there. It's not like he was hiding anything.
How did you guys meet? Oh, online?
Oh, over Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
During 2019, I guess?
I can't, if that was 2019 or 2018. That would have been 2018, October 2018, I think. Mm-hmm. Because 2019, it was January 2019. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'm getting the year right, when I went to Russia with my dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, 2019 is right. And then it was 2020. We went to Russia with dad. So in your video, you said, she brought her dad to Russia, and then while he was in the hospital, went off and, partied with Andrew Tate, which wasn't right because that was 3 months earlier. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, that's the information that I had available to me.
Yeah, well, he tweeted the photo out 3 or 4 months later, but I mean, photos can be taken whenever and then tweeted out later. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I wanted to address. And then what happened was, we were living separately, and my parents got really sick. Mm-hmm. And Andre ended up, and I know that this can come across as using him, but this was a very complicated situation. My parents were in the hospital over the summer. I was taking care of them. Andre went away. So we were living separately. Andre went away for about a month. He was in Russia, and I was taking care of Scarlett. And then after my mom had surgery for cancer, getting a babysitter, going over there in the morning, grabbing Scarlett after she had a nanny, putting her to bed, getting another babysitter, going back to take care of my mom. So that was one of the months. And then Andre came back, saw that I was in really rough shape from all the stress. He started helping. And that was the summer. And then my dad got really sick from benzodiazepine dependence and a side effect called akathisia, which makes people suicidal. And so he was suicidal, and he went to rehab because we thought the best way to deal with this was rehab, which wasn't right because they tried stabilizing him with more medications. And because of those medications,
right.
Yes. So we went to spent a bunch of money, went to a private, the best rehab center. And they ended up just stabilizing him, putting him on more medications. The akathisia got worse. And so he was there, brought him back to Canada, and then he ended up in the hospital in December. So that was December 2019. And in the hospital, they sedated him with medications to counteract this akathisia so badly that when we went in there, he couldn't communicate very well. And my whole family flew down. So my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents, everybody flew down, and we all talked about it. And we had been researching all over the world to figure out where to bring him that wouldn't keep adding on medications, that would just take them away. And the only place that looked honestly kind of crazy enough to do that was Russia. And we went everywhere. Like, I didn't want to go to Russia because I don't speak Russian, and Russia's terrifying. So I didn't want to do that. But we tried Israel, but they've got the same kind of medical establishment where they just keep adding on medications to stabilize, which doesn't work for akathisia because it's a side effect. Anyway, so the only way to get into Russia, and Andre was helping me at this point because my dad was in such bad shape in a hospital that the fact that we were getting divorced didn't seem as dramatic as it normally would, because we were dealing with somebody who we thought was going to be in the hospital and then die. We're like, okay, the divorce is a thing, but at this point, you know,
a bigger thing was falling apart.
Yeah. So we ended up going to Russia, and we ended up getting back together. But for the next year and a half, we just did primary care for my dad. So when we went to Russia and he had his detox, it was the worst period of my entire life. And online, I was just shown as this person who had, you know, forced my dad onto my weird all meat diet and then dragged him to Russia and nearly killed him while gallivanting off with other people. And that was when that tweet went out, which wasn't yours, that 20,000 people liked. And I was in Russia, and like, my hair was falling out from stress. I couldn't communicate very well with people because I don't speak Russian. But I was like, it's either this or dad's in this hospital and he's going to die. And my entire extended family agreed on that. So that's the background there.
So Andre was instrumental in getting him into Russia and into.
We wouldn't have been able to get him into Russia without Andre, because he had a Russian passport.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't just that. Like, he was with me helping take care of my dad, and I was, yeah. And so he was instrumental there. So people are online were like, why aren't you? And even my dad, why aren't you with someone who's like a good dad? He's helping your family. And I don't really want to get, like, I don't want to get into the negatives because I don't think it's appropriate, but we fought all the time in ways that I couldn't negotiate. And I don't think I'm an unreasonable person. Mm-hmm. And so the stress in our household was really bad. And I didn't think it was good for Scarlett either. And so separately, things are working out. We're communicating. And like I said, I'm not going to villainize my kid's dad, like, ever.
Yeah, understand. So, especially publicly. So yeah, I get it. But I'm curious to know, like, I mean, you don't have to go into the details or anything like that, but I mean, I have seen interviews of you. Well, I think it was you and your mother or something like that, talking about how, you know, building a relationship and building that marriage. Do you think that wasn't possible with Andre?
No, it wasn't possible.
Okay. Was because is he about the same? I don't know how old he is. Is he in his 20s as well?
No, he's 31.
So he's 31. Okay. So he's just a touch older than you.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. All right. Well, I was curious because I mean, a lot of what I see on your channel here is really kind of, you know, I guess, relationship building, and particularly when you do interviews with your mother, or you do it with your father, it seems to me like it's counterintuitive, let's just say, to what is you know, you portray on your channel. So I was just wondering, is it something that's just like fundamentally a conflict that you can't resolve, or is it something that's like, just because you are at a certain age, Because as you were saying before, when you were 23, you were thinking different than you are now at 29. So is
no
disconnect?
Okay, I get what you're saying. No, I don't think it's an age thing. I think it took me a while to realize that Andre and I weren't compatible. I've wanted to have kids and have a family since I was like 16, and I wanted to do that young. So 23, and you talk about it on your channel, 23 is a good age to do that. You talk about wanting to party and missing years, but I had a rough teenagehood.